Well, the world is divided between tea drinkers and coffee drinkers. Tea and coffee are both generic drinks, but trust me, cutting chai and filter coffee are absolutely emotional. Well, today, let's keep this mug of coffee aside and let's make South Indian filter coffee. Hey guys, welcome to Rajshri Food, and this is your ultimate destination for 100% vegetarian recipes. Well, filter coffee is absolutely different from any of those instant coffees that you get across the globe. And when I say it's emotional, I absolutely mean it. Well, every house has their own mix of coffee. Well, this one is coffee grits or coffee granules, which are absolutely nice and gritty. Well, this one is of course roasted coffee beans, but this also has 20% of chicory. This is the coffee mix that actually defines the taste and flavor of the coffee that you like in your home. Well, this is also a mix of 80% coffee seeds and 20% chicory. Well, that's a mix that I like. You can take a ratio of 70-30, you can go up to 60-40, you can also go up to 50-50 depending on how creamy, how intense and how coffee-like prominent you like as a flavor. Well, the first thing is to keep water to boil because this is required to make the decoction. Well, the decoction can be made in 2 to 3 ways, but primarily what every South Indian home has is a coffee press. Well, this one is a South Indian coffee press and this has 4 parts. The first one is of course the decoction collector. The second one is where you actually put the coffee beans or the coffee crush. You press it with this and finally you cover it with this. We'll of course break the process down. We'll go absolutely nice and slow and easy so that you all kind of learn it with ease. And the next one is your age-old strainer, but because I like it nice and smooth, I'm also kind of layering it with a muslin cloth. As simple as that, right? While the water is getting boiled, let's quickly start building the apparatus. And this is to make something called a decoction. Well, decoction is actually the concentrate of coffee which actually starts defining the taste and the flavor. First things first, I'm going to take a mix of coffee and chicory and add it to the press. 3 to 3.5 heaped tablespoons of this, and this needs to be lightly pressed. Well, the whole idea here is that you do not need to press it because you do not need it to convert into a brick. And the second one is it shouldn't be so porous that the water just zooms in. 1 or 2 light presses, one, another one. And with this, if you see, it's kind of padded and that's exactly what we're looking at. Let's start building the apparatus. The first thing that goes at the bottom is the decoction collector. On top of this, I'm placing the sieve that has the coffee and the chicory mix. I'm placing the press like so, removing it, and the next thing that goes in is hot water. That's about it. The last step is to cover this so that the coffee that is now converting into steam starts bouncing back into the apparatus. We need to pick this from the base because this is the colder part of the apparatus. We need to keep this aside, and let me show you a very quick alternate method. And this is for the ones who do not have the South Indian press. All you need to do is take a sieve. We need to line it with muslin cloth, and we need to place 2 heaped tablespoonfuls of this coffee and chicory mix. We need to again press this lightly with the back of the spoon so that this kind of becomes a little compact, not very loose, not very porous. And on top of this, we need to keep adding hot water in 2 to 3 batches because this one has a little smaller cup and this will hold lesser water. Well, here if you notice what's happening, the water has just begun percolating to the bottom bowl, and that's where you get the most beautiful intense decoction. It slowly also starts dripping as time passes, and if you kind of put your head to it, that's exactly what is happening in the filter coffee apparatus as well. So now let's wait and watch for 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes and our decoction should be done and ready. Let's have a quick check. Well, if you see, that's how it is nice, intense and a little thick, and that's exactly how we're looking at. The next step, of course, is to begin with making the coffee. Now, this is a step, rather, the decoction making is a step that could be done in advance. From what I know, what my friends do is, their mothers make this through the night. So, just before you're about to sleep, start making the decoction, let it percolate through the night, and then when you're ready to drink it in the morning, all you need to start is from this step, and that is heating the milk. To this, I'm adding in full fat milk. Let's turn the flame on. And into this, we need to add in sugar as per your own personal preference. Well, I like my coffee bitter and intense, so I'm adding in just like half a teaspoon of sugar, and that's my preference. You can take your own call. Allow this to heat on roll boil, and then we move forward. When I visit South Indian establishments, my orders generally begin with rasam vada, and finally they have to end with South Indian filter coffee, which is also known as Kaafi. Once the milk is well boiled, there begins the process of making filter coffee, and that happens in a very special apparatus called a dabra, which is a combination of a cup and a glass. Well, the next step is to take the decoction, as much or as little as you like and prefer. We're just retaining a little so that it can be topped right on top. Let's keep this aside, and to this let's add in hot milk, which also has sugar. Well, in today's modern times, when you can visit any coffee shop and have an international coffee, in my personal humble opinion, a traditional ethnic filter coffee would always taste better. Well, if you're personally someone who likes coffee, it's not me to be thanked. We need to all thank Baba Budan, who got 7 beans of coffee to India from Yemen in the 16th century. Hey, you beautiful people, I'm making coffee. Well, a lot of people are confused about the different varieties of coffees, of course. Now, there's an espresso, there's a latte, there's a cappuccino, and so many more. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a latte at home, and of course, I'm also going to talk about the different types of coffees. Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Rajshri Food. Let's begin with latte at home. The first thing for a good quality coffee is always getting the decoction correct. Now this is a decoction that I'm making espresso style. What am I doing? I have taken equal quantities of water, coffee powder and sugar. Very, very, very important. In this case now I am adding sugar. Sugar is something that can be completely omitted because of course we all take different kinds of sugars and we all have our own personal takes on sugar. So I am taking equal quantities of water, instant coffee for this case and sugar. Everything equal. Now the moment you add in coffee, you'll realize, see and notice that the water actually develops a little bit of creaminess, and which is very important in getting your espresso correct. It's not an espresso, it is an espresso. Please remember that because everybody across the globe goes wrong in calling it an espresso. Now, boil it nicely, say for a 30-40 second, enough time, and with this off goes the flame. Very important because you're not here to make a kadha, as we call it. A kadha or a decoction is something that you boil over a certain amount of time, you reduce it and you make it nice and intense. In this case, all you need is a good quality coffee, and that's about it. Now to this, I'm adding in sugar. And with this, your decoction is ready. You need to stir this well and ensure that this mixture or this decoction remains nice and hot. So let's go to the next step, and that is heating the milk. Now this is full fat milk, of course. Espresso, like I'm saying again, it's a mixture of water and coffee. Generally equal quantities is like what is followed everywhere in most restaurants. Talking about a latte. What is a latte? It is 2 portions of espresso. It has got steamed milk and it's got very little bit of milk foam. Cappuccino, which is the third variety of coffee that I would love to speak about, is even distribution of all 3. It's equal quantities of the decoction, steamed milk and foam. So it's built literally even evenly distributed is what technically you can call it. Now, generally when I order cappuccino, I like it a little stronger. That's the reason why I always order for a little bit of extra espresso, because I like it that way. What's important is to get the temperature of the milk correct. Now, I know, matter of fact, most restaurants or most cafes or most trattorias do not serve coffee at the right temperature, and that's where most of the guest complaints come in from. Always important to warm the decoction, warm the milk, and also warm the cup. Now, cups of course can be warmed in different ways. You can dip it in hot water, wipe it, and that's about it. You can also put it in a microwave and just microwave it for 10 seconds so that the cup warms up. Because what happens is, you may serve the best of coffees. It could be the warmest, it could be the hottest. But the moment it hits a cold cup, the temperature drops, and that's where most of the complaints come in. So remember that. The milk has perfectly heated up. It's risen to the top, and that's what we're looking at. The next step is to, of course, start building the coffee in a mug. If you take this cup, this could take, say, espresso, this could take steamed milk, and this could take the foam, and that is if you're making a cappuccino. When I'm making a latte, I'm taking 2 parts of espresso and I'm taking steamed milk with just a little bit of foam on top. So you need to choose the cup rightly, which is very important. Now, of course, this is a warm cup. To this, I'm adding in our decoction, and this decoction, mind you, already has the sugar. So 2 parts of espresso, which is the sweet espresso in this case, and to this I'm adding in milk. Now this is of course hot milk. Now if you notice, I'm leaving a little space on top, and that space is for the foam. Now how do you make foam at home? Very simple. You need a stick blender. If you do not have this, you can also do it with a whisk. That's as simple as that. Of course, it takes a little longer, but the job will be done. With this, the milk foam is done and ready. Now, you very carefully lift a little bit of foam and you literally lace it on top of the coffee, which is done and ready. With this, your latte at home is done and ready. And like if you see, you can make coffees at home, especially when this is a time when restaurants are shut, cafes are shut. Latte at home would just be perfect.
Let's admit this, half the world is hooked onto coffee, including me. There is nothing better than a hot cup of coffee on a cold winter evening. Hi guys, this is Ruchi Bharani and welcome to Rajshri Food, your ultimate destination for 100% vegetarian recipes. So today I have a hot cup of chocolate cappuccino with some nice dress-ups. I'm going to start with making the chocolate sauce, which is a simple 3-ingredient chocolate sauce. But of course, if you have any kind of ready-made chocolate syrup at home, you can use that as well. So in a pan, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Next, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of sugar. Also, 3/4 cup of water. Let's start cooking these ingredients. So turn on the flame on low. And I'm going to slowly keep whisking this. And we're going to boil this for at least a good 3 to 4 minutes. Make sure there are no lumps of the cocoa powder. Once the sugar dissolves, just let it simmer for 3 to 4 minutes. If this recipe reminds you of hot chocolate, find in the description box below the recipe for hot chocolate that I made for you. So this syrup has been simmering since the last 4 minutes and it's become slightly thick and sticky. Just bring it to a good boil and then turn off the flame. That's it. This is really hot right now, so I'm going to keep it aside to cool down slightly. While the chocolate sauce is cooling down, I'm going to quickly boil the milk. So in a saucepan, I'm going to pour some milk to simmer. Next, I'm going to start whisking the coffee now. So I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of instant coffee. Into that, equal quantity, that is 2 tablespoons of sugar. As well as 2 tablespoons of water. So you can use a hand whisk, or if you're making it in a larger quantity, you can always use the electric beater for this so that the process turns out to be faster and less muscle work. But since it's a small quantity, I'm just going to use the hand whisk. So this is going to take a few minutes. So keep whisking till the coffee color changes and turns into a nice froth. By the way, I'm going to have the shout out segment at the end, so stay tuned till the end. So the coffee mixture has become nice and frothy. I have soft peaks. I don't want to whip it even longer than this, and it's lightened in color, so this is ready. And the best part is you can store this coffee mix in the fridge for at least 2 days. And now I'm going to pour this cooled chocolate syrup into this bottle. So now I'm just going to increase the flame of the milk, give it a good stir, and just bring it to a boil and turn off the flame. The milk is nicely boiled and I can see a slight foam layer on top. Don't stir that in. I want that froth. Let's pour it in this jug. So all the 3 elements are ready, and now I'm going to start making my cup of coffee. Spoon in about 2 tablespoons of the whipped coffee. Pour the hot milk. And now I'm going to dress this up. This is the easiest dress up that you can make. Just start from the center and make a coil just like this. After making the coil, take a toothpick and from the center, just pull a stroke through the coil. After pulling every stroke, make sure you clean the toothpick with a tissue or a napkin. If the first design is a little difficult for you, you can always go for this simple one. Here is my hot chocolate cappuccino. Do try this and enjoy it on a windy, cold evening. Do let me know how it turned out, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, there are various ways of making cappuccino or coffee with froth in your home kitchen. This is also actually one of those tricks that I learned from a friend while staying in a college hostel. Here is a home trick of how to make it in your own home kitchens. Hey guys, it's Varun Inamdar and welcome to Rajshri Food. For this, what we need to do is take instant coffee in a mug, and this would be as strong or light as you please. Since I am forming a base mixture and making multiple coffee cups later, I am taking somewhere around 2 to 3 tablespoons of instant coffee. To this, we need to add in again the same quantity of sugar, and this one is grain sugar. Add in a tablespoon of cold water, and with the help of a spoon, you need to cream this till this mixture is nice, smooth and almost frothed. And this step is rather going to take somewhere around 8 to 10 minutes, and you need to keep beating vigorously. Well, this is possibly one of the only reasons I feel this is known as hand-beaten coffee, also colloquially. The whole idea is to keep beating this mixture like so in the cup till it becomes nice and frothy. Well, it's roughly around 8 to 10 minutes and you see the coffee has become nice and frothed. And if you observe a little closely, it has just kind of started developing soft peaks. This is the stage where we need to stop and start heating milk on medium flame, roughly till the temperature of your preference. While boiling the milk, it's important to scum all of the cream that rises on top. Stir it well. And now let's begin serving the hand-beaten coffee. In the serving mug, we need to add in a dollop of coffee and sugar, which is hand-beaten. Well, you can increase or decrease this as per the strength of coffee and sugar that you prefer. We need to top this up with milk as per your choice. Fill the cup till it's 3/4 full and stir it one last time. We need to top this up with a little more of the hand-beaten coffee. Just a sprinkling of instant coffee. With this, your hand-beaten coffee or cappuccino at home is done and ready. Do you remember that scene in Game of Thrones where there was a coffee mug placed on the table? Well, possibly one of the most heavily trolled scenes of Game of Thrones, and also, if you remember, so many memes were made out of it. Today, talking about coffee, and since winter is here, I thought I'll make one of my favorite coffees, Caffe Macchiato. Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Rajshri Food. Let's begin with Caffe Macchiato. For this coffee especially, I'm going to use these shot glasses. Well, shot glasses are not really required for this recipe. Even if you have these little transparent glass cups, they just work perfectly. In fact, those are the cups that you're supposed to use for something like this because there's a distinct layer. Of course, when we keep going and once I keep explaining to you what it is all about, then you'll come to know what I'm saying. But otherwise, for all of you who just kind of don't know what this coffee is, it's espresso right at the bottom and a little bit of foamed milk and just a dot of coffee. How that happens? Well, we'll move into that slowly. Primarily, we're supposed to make two different mixtures. One, which is your sweetened milk. Again, how sweet, how less sweet, that's completely personal. But the first mixture is sweetened milk and the second mixture is coffee. So basically, it's coffee and water together. As simple as that. The milk will be just lightly foamed, not heavily foamed in case how we do a cappuccino or coffees like that. Just lightly foamed and then we begin. So let's begin with the first step, and that is making espresso. I'm taking coffee powder and to this I'm going to add in water. Well, I personally like this in the ratio of 1:3. So basically it's 1 part of coffee and 3 parts of water. Now I know that's very strong, but I like it that way. Let's put this on absolutely low flame and allow this to simmer. It has to become nice and concentrated because that's how you get the most amazing espresso. Now this mixture can be made using 3 different methods. The first one is using dried coffee beans, which are roasted and ground. Now that's one. The second one is exactly the way we make filter coffee with a mixture of Chicory coffee beans, if you remember. Now, this could also be made the French press style. And the third one is the method that I'm deploying, and that one is using instant coffee. Well, one of my most favorite methods of making, of course, for the purists, we'll always stick to the first two, but this one is just wonderful and home style. Stir this well, allow this to dilute, just let it come to a little bit of a boil, and it also kind of concentrates if you continue boiling it. Don't make it too concentrated because then the bitter notes kind of become too prominent. Let's move on to the second mixture, and that is milk and sugar. Like I said, sugar is as per choice. So let's add in milk. And to this, I'm adding in a teaspoon and a half of sugar. Now, like I said earlier, I do not like my coffees extremely sweet. I know some of you like it really sugary and really extremely sweet, but I like it just like that. Now, while both these mixtures are getting cooked, let's move into our next segment, which is Knowledge is Power. Caffe Macchiato, well, the name could sound very intimidating, but trust me, it's very simple. It's also known as Espresso Macchiato. Now, because there's a good use of espresso in this, espresso is primarily important, and that goes with lightly foamed milk. Now, if you literally translate it in Italian, macchiato could mean stained or marked. Now, if you bring all of that together, it's also marked coffee or stained coffee. Let's move in to check if this is done and ready. While the milk is bubbling here, let me quickly pick a whisk. Off goes this flame, and this has to be lightly foamed, lightly whipped. Our milk is lightly foamed and ready. Now, if you think about how coffee is generally made, it's always espresso first and then you add in the milk, right? In this case, it's the complete reverse. So I also like to call this my reverse coffee because the first thing that goes in is the foamed milk and then you top it up with espresso. Isn't that funny? But that's how it's made. Let me add in the lightly foamed milk and then spoon in the little bit of froth. And next is a little bit of that wonderful foam. That's where you get the stain or the mark. So this is very important. The next is to add in this wonderful concentrated coffee syrup or espresso as we call it.